Welcome to the Rockport High School Civics Project, which is a forum on the job of Rockport Town Clerk. Election day is May 10th, 2022, and this is our first collaboration with Rockport High School students on a civics project. I'm Hannah Kimberly, the president of the League of Women Voters of Cape Ann, and I'm also your moderator. The League is a nonpartisan political organization for everyone, which encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. One way we do this is by presenting candidates directly to you, the voters, in a fair and equal format. Unlike our usual debates between candidates for public office, our focus tonight will be primarily educational. So why is it important for voters to know what a town clerk does? Well, this is the only contested election this year. Many municipalities have appointed clerks and residents that never get to vote on the position. So this is important for voters to show up on May 10th and cast their vote in this election. Our goal is to provide a few answers to some of the questions that you might have. As I said, this will not follow our usual debate format, but will be in the form of a civics presentation by Rockport High School students. Awesome Rockport High School students. Questions for the two candidates will be interspersed within the presentation, and candidates may spend up to 2 minutes on each question and may respond to each other's comments. But as moderator, I will ask them to keep it brief and to the point. In other words, answer the question that has been asked of you. The questions and the entire presentation are the independent work of 5 students. Patrick Morin, who is a senior and is planning to go to Villanova next year. Phoebe Twombly, who is a senior and is planning to go to Suffolk. And she's also going to spend a year abroad in Spain. And from personal experience as her previous teacher, I know that she rocks. Eva McCarthy, who is a senior going to the University of Essex in England. Eli Mueller, who is a senior going to the University of Toronto. And Josh Farrell, who is a sophomore, who you can see on the screen, is here and who is going to give the presentation tonight. So the candidates will have an opportunity to make 2-minute closing statements at the end of the presentation. Up to 2 minutes is fine. It doesn't have to be 2. Now I will introduce the candidates. Melanie Waddell is currently the assistant town clerk and has been in her position for 2 years. And she also started volunteering 8 years ago as an election official. In addition to her concentration in political science at Southern New Hampshire University, Melanie will complete her accreditation as a certified municipal clerk by this fall. She brings business and customer service experience to the job from her work at Polo Ralph Lauren, as an entrepreneur with her startup business, the Urchin Exchange, and as a personal lines account manager for Gov and Feldman Insurance. She's a board member of the Rockport Exchange, which is the nonprofit which brings us the Rockport Farmers Market, which we love. Our next candidate is Jonathan Ring. Jonathan has a Bachelor of Science degree in political science from Salem State University with minors in history and management. He served on the Rockport Historical District Commission, the Board of Registrars of Voters, and most recently, the Rockport Housing Authority, which he chaired for 1 year. He managed UPS stores in Beverly and Boston, where he hired and trained employees, performed notary services, processed claims, and provided customer service. So on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Cape Ann, I want to thank our students who researched the duties of town clerk, prepared this presentation, and drew up the questions. I also want to thank our 2 candidates for participating and 1623 Studios for airing it on local television in the week before the election of May 10th. It will be posted on League of Women Voters capeann.org website and also on Facebook. Please vote, everyone, on May 10th. That is your day to vote. And now I will hand it off to Josh.
All right. I guess we can just get right into it. Can you throw up the slideshow? All right. So this is the town clerk forum. I'm going to go over some major aspects of the job, and then I'll move into asking specific questions for each candidate. to answer about how they would handle each aspect. You can move on to the next slide. All right, so over the course of this civics project, myself and the other students working on it had the opportunity to go to Gloucester and visit and discuss topics with their town clerk or city clerk. And then we were able to have the same experience here in Rockport, where we talked to the town clerk about all the duties, how they fulfill their role in the town, how it's different from a city clerk position. And after that, we have drawn up this presentation, which tries to best exemplify what we learned about the office and what we think would be good questions. Next slide. All right, so topic one is direction. This one came up a couple times. So the town clerk will be responsible for driving the office. And this is especially important in Rockport because the town clerk is an elected position versus in Gloucester, where it's an appointed position. So the town clerk has the autonomy to drive political agendas, in different ways, depending on their motivations. Next slide. Yep. So a big part of this is technological advancement. We're all online right now, but it's important that the town keep revolutionizing their technology to stay up to date and to make it so that it's just easy to access things. Next slide. All right. So my first question is, what would the future of the office look like if you win? And I think we decided to start with Jonathan.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Rockport High School Civics group in your student government for hosting this debate and putting this presentation together. What would the future look like? First of all, I want to ensure accessible, secure, and fair elections, making sure to follow all relevant state laws and town bylaws. Improve the organization of records by migrating or proposing a searchable database on the town website. Make sure to respond to constituent needs. Make sure that we have access through office hours, online service, community outreach. Seek resident suggestions for better service. For our office, investigate the use of live streaming and fixed agendas for town meeting, and establish candidate forums and issues as well, and make sure the town clerk office also works with high school students to support and encourage civics projects.
Great. Melanie?
Yes. Again, I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters, Josh for being here, as well as all of the other students who collaborated with you on this project, Tom and Hannah for hosting, and all of the viewers who are here to watch tonight. The first question of being the direction, it would be similar to how the clerk's office is now. We would continue to provide reliable information and quality services. I'd continue to work cooperatively and find ways to collaborate with other departments, boards, and committees, and all while ensuring compliance with state and local statutes. I've consistently been dedicated to the continued preservation of all of the town of Rockport's past, present, and future documents and vital records. And that's for everyone now and all future generations. And I also additionally truly respect the right to vote and would ensure that elections are conducted in a fair and open manner, providing equal access to all our residents. I as well would like to see our office be even more informative by increasing accessibility, and technology would be a means of producing that result. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Josh?
Yep, if you two don't have any response for each other, we'll move on to the next question, which, not the next slide, next question. Thank you.
Josh, can
That,
I interrupt you for a
Yep.
second? Candidates, if you do have a response, please do let us know so we don't pass over you. Okay, great. Thanks, Josh.
great. And you both mentioned this a little bit, but how would technology play a role in this future?
Who answers? Maybe Melanie can go first.
Oh, sure.
I think we plan to
Technology.
just,
Oh, go ahead.
do you want to go back and forth, or do you want to either each one of you go the 1st
I'll start
time?
on, I think that
Okay.
works. I can start on this one. Technology is key to providing accessibility. Pat has done an amazing job during her time in office digitizing a real great majority of the historical archive, and that was a huge first step. Last year, the town switched its data storage company to a company called Laserfish. It's a content management platform. And a lot of time has been spent in last year reorganizing the content that we have in hopes to provide more access to, say, town meeting minutes, or not necessarily birth records maybe in the future, but the first step would be something like town meeting minutes. We recently had a constituent come in looking for to look at the town reports, to look through the minutes, to look for discussion or articles that had to do with snow removal. While I do love a good research project, the idea is to have that information more accessible, like at a click at home. Obviously, people are welcome to come in at any time to access it. So really, it's taking our office from digital to accessible. So Laserfish is already something that's in process. And then, as you may or may not know, my most recent project was online dog licensing. Change takes time, and we started on that about late last year, probably December, early into January. And it was a collaboration with the animal control officer, and you have to really observe and see what works and what doesn't work. We reviewed the data that we had. We were able to integrate it and upload it into a new database, and it was super successful. We licensed over 400 dogs in April alone. So that's just another platform that we're working on. Civic Clerk is another one that's come into the town offices recently. It's sort of a posted meetings calendar, which would ultimately have links to packets and documents associated to each meeting, and it would all be right at your fingertips. These are some of the key components to an updated website, and all of these things are currently in the works. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. I would make the establish a searchable database structure to allow records that are stored online to be more easily accessed through the town website. I'm also glad that an idea that I had promoted during my campaign, which was advocating that dog license applications be included with the parking and trash stickers on online purchases, was adopted by the town clerk. So it's an idea that I had promoted early on when I started running, and I was pleased to see that that was adopted and put forward. So we'll just continue that and make sure that that good work continues. And make sure that we have accessible information. Definitely one of the things we need to do more of. We need to organize the electronic database, use OCR, optical character recognition, to record more scanned images. And that does take a lot of work. And, you know, we can definitely include volunteers to help us, whether it's seniors who want to get a tax abatement through their property taxes, or high school students that would be helping as a part of their civics project or for community service.
I'd like to rebut.
Okay, great. Melanie,
Okay.
go ahead.
As I had mentioned previously in my comments, Laserfish is a company that's already installed. They do use OCR, and change takes time. Just like the dog licensing, that was something that, you know, if you noticed in your census this year, the census wasn't just one-sided, it was two-sided. on the backside of the census street listing this year, it had dog license information, it had town meeting times, it had election times, it had directions, QR codes. It's all about providing more information. And that was a precursor to launching dog licensing. So as I said, dog licensing took some time. I know it was a great idea, Jonathan, but it was something that we'd been working on in the office for quite some time beforehand. So I think it was a great idea.
Great.
I couldn't agree more. It's a great idea. I'm just glad that your office, the town clerk's office, adopted it.
It's made everything a lot easier, and we've done twice as many dogs in the first month than I think we did in 4 or 5 months last year. So with ease.
Excellent. Okay, Josh, you want to carry on?
Yep. If we can move on to the next slide, next topic. All right, organization. So a major part of the town clerk's job is organizing town records, as they've already discussed to some degree. Next slide, please. All right. So, yep. Let's see. Yep. I basically said all that. Next slide, please. All right. So my specific questions would be, what advancements would your office make in organization specifically? And I think we're going to start with Jonathan this time.
Well, again, I mean, just advancements in organization. I think that we've both covered this, and but making the town records just more searchable, and just continuing to advance our technology in that way, and it's important to make sure that we help with online voter registration even more, help make records more searchable, work with the IT department to make to improve the website for town government in general. I'm all set with that.
All right.
Yes. So with the town website, all of these different technologies that we're implementing, it is all building up to a more user-friendly, more searchable website. Laserfiche also is searchable, and people would be able to not only access it through the website, but when looking for specific documents, access it through a link that we could send via email. It's like I said, it's through observation that you learn what works and doesn't work. And I'm grateful that I've had the time to be able to do that. And like you said, the whole organization goes back to the discussion on technology, and it really is the way of the future. Another project that I'd like to tackle, and I really need to wait a little while, is the bylaw recodification. It's being worked on right now by the Government and Bylaw Committee. They're working on the town bylaws. And as you may or may not know, next Monday, we have a special town meeting where the zoning bylaw changes are being presented at town meeting. Working with another vendor that could help once any of these are approved or moving forward. It will also help with the historical documentation of these changes. It's really important to be able to go back and see when certain bylaws were amended or changed, just as far as keeping historical documentation of it. So thank you.
Great.
All right. And my next question would be specifically about scalability and flexibility, because, as all these things do move online, there's questions that come up about, there's thousands of records. How does that expand to make sure that it stays accessible and it stays organized? So that starts with Melanie, right? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I really think the key is to remain open to change and to continue to be innovative constantly. I really witnessed and experienced that for the first time during my first year working in the office in 2020, when vote by mail kind of just came flying in the office. There were hundreds, essentially thousands of little white cards that just kept coming into the office. And we didn't have a real strong directive responsive from the state, and it did come, but it was changing on a daily basis. So it's just being able to be innovative. I had to come up with this brand new filing system out of cardboard boxes, and I think there ended up being 12 boxes of these cards that had to be filed so that we could find them and verify signatures. And I think the timing of my coming into the office was key. I think the pandemic really highlighted where a lot of clerks' offices were needing to be more in tune with technology. So I was able to remain flexible with all that constant change coming in, and now I'm able to make the changes that will, help for that, all of that improvement. So thank you.
Okay, Jonathan?
A good database allows flexibility and scalability, cloud-based and backup to be able to help you search for available. I would look for available solutions from other OCR software, whether we continue with what Melody has mentioned, microfiche or Abby Flex Capture, or we go with Abby Fine Reader server. Because really, moving into the future and upgrading it can help somebody, easily search for, what they need. I mean, if you needed to find when a road was accepted, even if you have to go back to like February 27th, 1840, which is a familiar year which is an interesting year. But yeah, just to try to maintain it within the clerk's budget and, being flexible towards changing what process you're currently using and looking for new solutions for that.
If I could rebut, street listing and all of information like that is all in Laserfiche. It would all become accessible, and taking on new database programs. It's always great to have ideas, but I mean, it takes budgeting approval. It takes collaboration with IT. It's often multiple departments that are involved in these integrations, and they're challenging, but we're making it happen right now. So thank you.
Well, I couldn't agree more, actually. I mean, you and I aren't in disagreement on that. We always try to look for new solutions. We have to run all these ideas by various different departments, just like you said. Hopefully we can get like all of these searches online, for people to access through the website so that they don't always have to come into the office to find them. But I don't disagree with you.
Great.
Okay, Josh?
All right. I'm ready for the next slide. And our next topic specifically deals with the candidates themselves, their personal experience. Next slide, please. Yes. So a lot of the job of a town clerk is something that you learn from being a town clerk, or at least that's what we gathered from talking to both of the clerks. Where our questions are just going to touch on, what kind of experience does each of the candidate have, and how does it really allow them to best perform their duties. All right. Next slide. Yep. We can just start with the first one. How has your background prepared you to take on the role of town clerk?
That me?
My question.
I'm not sure. Is it? I think it's your question, Melanie.
Melanie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a very colorful background. I started my professional career in the fashion industry as a buyer, where financial accountability was executed through careful planning and allocation strategies of product. And as a department head, the understanding of budgeting is essential. Advanced computer applications such as data merging has been useful recently, really more so with all of the new technology that we've been implementing. With my small business, the Urchin Exchange, I was able to create successful marketing plans using multimedia strategies to promote my business. And organizational skills, I worked with over 600 clients throughout Cape Ann and had thousands of SKUs and units with a constantly changing inventory. It was there that I really started to build the relationships within the community and earn trust. among my clients. And all of these skills carried over to Govin Feldman Insurance, where customer service was essential. Most importantly, as you mentioned initially, Josh, the last 2 years of on-the-job training as assistant town clerk and 6 years prior to that as an election official, it really gave me the firsthand working knowledge of the election process. I've also continued my educational, we go to conferences a lot. I take online classes through different town clerk association availability. And 7 days after the election, the new town clerk is sworn into office. And I don't know anyone who can learn how to be a town clerk in 7 days. Like I said, it's been 2 years and I still learn every single day, and I'm super excited to do it. If something comes up though, I know now where to find the answers. Additionally, I have a really strong network that I've been able to build this last year with other clerks all over Massachusetts. So thank you.
And now Jonathan.
Well, I'm a lifelong resident. I love my community. And I served on various boards in this town. I served on the Historical District Commission for 5 years. I did serve on the Board of Registrars of Voters for a couple of years. And I served on the Rockport Housing Authority for 5 years. I was elected to that. I served as its chair for 3 years in a row, with being vice chair and treasurer prior to that. I oversaw the hiring process of the executive director. I've overseen the management of the board and its management of policy and budget. And I've overseen our missions to help support low-income housing by advocating for CPC funds, which were approved by the town to help with roof replacement projects. I've encouraged tenants to be included in elections so that they would have a greater say in their board. I've also managed retail stores. I've managed UPS stores in Beverly and Boston. I've had to hire employees, manage employees, train employees. I've managed multiple systems, for the UPS stores. Whether it was royalty reporting, management of claims and disputes, customer service. I think one of the most essential things in all that I've done is there's a huge customer service component to it. It takes a lot of listening, a lot of empathy, listening to what people have to say, helping them out, especially when they're facing issues or a problem. And I've just managed various different issues, going in the retail sector as well as with the housing authority. So I believe that in that management and that leadership skill is key in leading any department or organization.
Great. All right. And I think this is also going to start with you, and you touched on it a little bit. What character trait do you believe will allow you to best serve as a town clerk?
I'm fair, hardworking, relatable. I can work well with others. I want to work with people to find a solution. So,
and Melanie?
Yes, I think number one is having and embodying integrity, and integrity is loaded with characteristics. I mean, it's honest, it's open, responsible, accountable, reliable, trustworthy, always helping others in need, being respectful, ethical, transparent. Other traits, inspirational. People have always been comfortable talking to me, so in the town clerk's office, we joke about it being the Google of town. If you have a question, then if we don't know the answer, we'll find it or we'll point you in the right direction. So thank you.
All right, great. Next slide, please. All right. This one is specifically going to touch on elections because it is a large part of the town clerk's role. Next slide, please. Yep. It is really important, and there has been a lot of controversy surrounding the elections. So it's important that we touch on this. Next slide, please. All right. The first one, this one goes to Melanie first. How would you make sure that voting is accessible to all citizens?
Well, in the clerk's office, we do that every day. We work with a computer that is provided by the state. It's called VRIS, or the Voter Registration Information System. It is the place where people who have gone online to register to vote, all of that information gets transmitted to us from there. It also comes in through the Registry of Motor Vehicles. So it's a daily, every day, anyone from town who goes to the RMV, any information that might change, it gets shot back to us. And every day we're checking what we call the queue to ensure its accuracy or if there's anything that's changed. And also it starts with getting the word out early about elections, about town meeting, about registration. I've been to the high school. I was there in March of 2020, but unfortunately, COVID kind of put a halt to our being able to come to the school. But social media, I started up the town social media website. I've been able to communicate a lot of information through that to people in town. As I mentioned before, the website, it's getting ready to revamp. And that also, we do have stuff on there now. We do keep all documents, town meeting warrants, town election warrants. We have candidate financial statements. Anything you need really is on the website. It will just be more usable later. So the street listing and local census, I mentioned that earlier, that also helps us keep our voter registration rolls up to date. And as I mentioned earlier, we're trying to make sure that the census had more information. That was a lead that Pat gave me this year, was taking on the census and adding the information on the backside to be more informative. So, and at the polls, we have provisional ballots. The Help America Vote Act of 2002 allowed for provisional voting. So if somebody comes in and for any reason at all, their name is not on the voter list, they are allowed to fill out an affidavit and they are allowed to vote. And then later their ballot is brought back to the town hall, where we work with either the Secretary of State or the Registry of Motor Vehicles to research and ensure that the vote is legal. And if we can verify that it is, then it gets added to the tallies. So those are some of the ways.
Great. And you, Jonathan?
First and foremost, upholding the Massachusetts Voter Bill of Rights, listed on the Secretary of State's website. Having voter registrations in multiple locations, whether it's the high school, for, as Melanie mentioned, for school, for young adults, partnering with the high school civics program even more. Reactivating a dormant law that, or even expanding that law, that not expanding the law, but expanding our activities under it with the Board of Registrars, partnering with the civics program, hosting educational forums, bringing candidates to town so that you can hear all the candidates' views from all political parties. To increase voter knowledge, perhaps even having forums about the various different warrant articles and ballot questions to increase participation and knowledge. Having a voter guide similar to what the Secretary of State puts out regarding those warrant articles or questions, with the pros and cons of both sides. Or with information about the candidates that people can read about. There are lots of different things we can do, and we can, utilize all the technologies that we have to make that happen as well. So doing all that, doing all the things Melanie suggested as well. So, there's lots of good ideas to go around.
I will plug us after your answer there, Jonathan. That I just want folks to know in the audience, if they don't know, that the League of Women Voters does candidate forums, does ballot question forums in Rockport, and our Vote 411 website, which we also promote, tells you all about the candidates who are running. So, and also we do voter registration throughout Rockport, including the high school. So that's a plug for the League of Women Voters. Melanie?
True.
Yes, I just wanted to speak to a couple of points that Jonathan just brought up about candidates and issues that are brought to town meeting warrant, even statewide candidates. The town clerk is supposed to be an unbiased, impartial figure in the town. So it would be a really tricky line, I think, to be inviting or having forums. I think that those are, in my personal opinion, I think that those are best hosted by, say, the Republican committee, town committee, or the Democratic town committee, or the League of Women Voters. That way, the town clerk isn't looking biased in any way. That's something I firmly believe.
Well, the town clerk could partner with all those organizations, to present those candidates and work with both the Democratic committee and the Republican committee and the League of Women Voters to present those issues and those candidates. I think it could be a win for everybody because you can bring everybody together.
I think it's a very fine line.
Well, it is a fine line too when town clerks endorse candidates in an election too. So,
As an
so
elected official, they have the right to. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. So if they can do that, a town clerk can work with all those entities in order to bring people together to present different issues, different candidates, whatever it takes to increase participation in democracy. And I think we can help bring more people involved in our democracy by bringing people together like that.
Great. All right. This is also going to start with we're alternating. So this is going to start with Jonathan. How will you maintain a fair election?
Well, as a candidate, I've been speaking out about the need to make sure our election laws are followed, making sure that one in particular, making sure that both the Democratic committees and Republican committees are included in the nomination of election officers by statute. The Board of Registrars and the Board of Selectmen have to reach out to both of those committees, and it hasn't followed that statute in a long time. But I'm glad to see that they're starting to follow that statute now. Making sure because what is required is that we do have to have equal participation and bipartisanship in the management of elections. That's under the law, under Massachusetts general law. And having the selectmen appoint those election officers is required by our town code of bylaws. Making sure that town employees are not serving on the Board of Registrars of Voters. That's important too. And making sure that all of our election laws are being followed. That's how you maintain a fair election. So that's what I would do as town clerk.
Great. And Melanie?
Sure. The process, he brought up a specific law and that has been addressed. And, he brings up a really big challenge that we face in this town. Rockport is 65% unenrolled, 25% Democratic, and 8% Republican. Often a challenge in putting the schedules together and hiring election workers is availability. So we are going to work a little bit harder on that moving forward. But the reality is that often people aren't available. So like you said, we're working on that. But the fact is that our election process works. We maintain all systems from day one. We follow any Mass General law and directives from the state. The 2020 audit of the presidential election that was held here in Rockport was it was exact, it was on point. In 2021, there was a citizen petition to recount the Proposition 2.5 override vote. And they both confirmed the accuracy of our local election process. So I think we're fortunate that most of us know each other, and the election workers are our friends and our family and our neighbors. And we've proven that the system works. So I'd like to just be able to keep it moving and keep having free and fair elections.
Great. All right. Now, I have another question that I'm going to throw in. It relates to technology and the advancement of the office. There have been many questions about potential issues that come up with technology not being accurate, doing things wrong, not being able to change that. How would you address issues that come up when dealing with that? And I think that goes to Melanie.
I guess I'd love to hear something a little bit more specific. I think, I mean, for one example, I guess I could point out right away is the open meeting law and the PDF file that is now posted on our website. Sometimes there are human errors that happen in that, and the inaccessibility to the documents that go along with these meetings. Say a conservation commission meeting, you're in the meeting, they're talking about a map that you want to look at that they're discussing, and it might be up on the screen, but this new Civic Clerk platform would have all those documents set up on the side so that you could actually click it yourself and zoom in on certain areas. So like I said, we're implementing new things, and we hope that they're going to be more user-friendly and more accurate moving forward.
Yep. And same question to Jonathan.
Could you repeat that question? And
Yeah, it was.
I agree. Anything specific, like specific problems or issues that you saw or that you noted?
Well, the specific question was, how would you deal with problems that arise with technological advancement in general? But a specific case that I was thinking of, and Melanie can also respond to this, was, it's really difficult to find resources on the town website per se, like links, meeting files, things like that. Like I was looking for an agenda and it took me a while to find it. You've clicked through multiple things and, sometimes it's just faster to get it from other areas. So
true. Yeah, I think that all goes back to just reworking the website, working with all the all the departments that are involved in that, making the website more searchable. Improving that technology. We could even take a look at how other towns do their websites to make, see if there's, how they make them more searchable. How does the State House make its website more searchable? But even that can be a challenge too at times as well. So I think that just goes back to just improving, getting away from a somewhat of a static website, and making sure that words or could be searched more easily.
Mm-hmm.
I promise, Josh, it's coming. And when in doubt, we always say the same thing. When in doubt, call the clerk's office.
Yep.
We will find the answer. We will direct you to the information. I understand it's frustrating. I sometimes find it frustrating to find stuff myself when it's not my department. So I promise it's coming.
Great. Now, if we could advance, I think this is the last slide. It might be. Yeah, so that will wrap up all of the questions that I have. I believe candidates give their closing statements. Yep.
I'll let Melody go first.
Okay. Friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, thank you all again for being here tonight. I really am so grateful for this opportunity. Growing up in Rockport, I was able to witness my father give back to the town through his service as an assessor. And he often talked about my grandmother, his mother, Nancy Waddell, in her time serving as Rockport's town clerk, which was now over 50 years ago. When I moved back home 8 years ago, I knew I wanted to get involved. I volunteered for elections. I began filling in for Pat and Linda when they were away, and I found a true passion for the work of this office. A place where I could really connect to the townspeople and offer my skill set to be part of ensuring the integrity of our democracy so that every citizen has the opportunity to vote and have their voice be heard. It was then that I set a goal for myself, and I began taking classes to complete my bachelor's degree, which I've now accomplished. And for the last 2 years as assistant town clerk, I have been actively learning the position, training through continued educational opportunities. And now when questions arise, I do know where to find the answers. Additionally, I've been able to build that strong network of colleagues across Massachusetts. And as you've learned today, the role of town clerk is multifaceted. We wear many hats, usually all in one day. There are 3 main categories. It's customer service, historical vital records, and the facilitator of elections. Your town clerk must embody integrity and be engaging, trustworthy, innovative, and willing to go the extra mile. I have the experience and I have the skill set to get the work done on day one. Additionally, I offer you my enthusiasm and my love for the town in an unbiased, open, and welcoming environment. It would be my honor to serve as your next town clerk, and I ask for your vote on May 10th. Thank you again.
Wonderful. And Jonathan?
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Ring, candidate for Rockport Town Clerk. No doubt many of you have heard me say that when I knocked on your door or called you on the phone or knocked on your door again. I think some people are going to be glad when this election is over. That means you'll stop seeing me on your doorstep. But I really love this town. I love Rockport. I lived here all my life. I'm a 3rd generation Rockport, so I think, Melanie, you have me beat by a generation. I'll admit it. My dad grew up in this town. His dad grew up in this town. My mother is from Portugal. And she came here and met my dad. And we found this, I find this voting to be very unique here because just a little while ago, my mother, when they were voting in Portugal, they showed us ballots from Portugal. I says, oh, wow, let me take a look at that ballot. Take a look at the ballot. I says, where are the people? Oh, no, we vote on parties. You don't vote on people, I said. No. But here we have a chance. We don't vote on parties. We vote on people. We vote on individuals, and that's so important. I have served in this town for quite a long time on the Historical District Commission, Registrar of Voters, the Housing Authority. I have a sense of commitment, loyalty, and integrity that I bring to this job. And if I'm elected town clerk, I want to do the following things. I want to serve as a resource for citizen involvement in town government. I want to uphold the Voter Bill of Rights. I want to improve election accountability, management, and training, and transparency in accordance with federal, state, and local statutes. Work with the public school system to promote civics and voter registration for young adults. Promote citizen participation with election forums and community outreach programs, and manage the town records in compliance with federal, state, and local statutes. I believe that I can do all these things. I know I can do all these things, and I will give this job everything I have. So I'm asking you on election day, May 10th, to vote for me. Vote for Jonathan Ring for Rockport Town Clerk. Please visit my website at www.jonathanring.org to learn more. I'm open to any questions that people have, and don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think.
Yep.
Yep. I think we're going to wrap it up. I would like to give my personal thanks to the League of Women Voters and both of the candidates for providing this opportunity to Rockport High School students.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Josh.
Josh. And I will just give you all just a quick last statement. As I said before, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Cape Ann, thank you so much to our 5 students who researched the duties of town clerk, who prepared this presentation and created the questions. Thank you also to the Rockport Town Clerk's Office and the Gloucester City Clerk's Office for working on civics project with the students. That's so amazing. And Josh Farrell, thank you loads for hosting this forum. I also want to thank our 2 candidates, Melanie Waddell and Jonathan Ring, for participating in the forum, and thanks to 1623 Studios for airing it on local television in the week before the election on May 10th. I will repeat that. Rockport, your election is on May 10th. Please go out and vote. Every election is important. All politics are local, and democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you.